Hey, it's James from Marketing for Restaurants here. Welcome to episode 157 of Secret Sauce, the restaurant marketing podcast, the death of the restaurant industry, and Deliveroo, the company that wants to kill it.
Some restaurants are quiet, lose money, and the owner works 70 hours a week. Other restaurants are busy, profitable, and the owners work a few hours a day. What's the difference? They have a secret sauce. Join James from Marketing for Restaurants as he helps you come up with your recipe for restaurant success. Your secret sauce.
Ooh, that's a bit depressing. And it is a bit depressing in a really depressing time for so many restaurants around the world. Every week we're hearing heartbreaking stories of restaurants who are struggling to operate under all of the restrictions that are placed on them because of damn COVID. But an article has come out in The Guardian that I think is really prescient, and I think we need to be talking about it because we've now got the pandemic, we've got the confluence of Deliveroo, the service that they offer, the customers that they're taking, and their IPO as they really sort of trying to create a juggernaut that is going to fundamentally change the restaurant industry forever. And so what I want to talk about is why there is such a big threat from Deliveroo in particular. Uber Eats, Just Eat, Menulog, DoorDash, Grubhub, they're all trying to do their own little thing, but Deliveroo is the worst of a bad bunch, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how we got to this, and then we're going to talk about the specific steps that you can take in your restaurant to ensure the profitability, survivability, and all of the other things that are so important about the restaurant industry, particularly the local independent restaurant. That's our heartland. That's the restaurants that we're really passionate about helping. And that is the kind of restaurant that is under the biggest threat from Deliveroo. So let's start getting into it. First off, I want to go into why I'm on my high horse about this, because I believe that this is a fight for the death. It's a really important fight that everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to be thinking about. The restaurant industry, the restaurant associations, the governments, and the consumers, the diners, the people who are after that experience. Everyone needs to be thinking about this because it's really important. In 2014, a documentary came out called The Search for General Zhou. Now, General Zhou was a general in Chinese history. In America, there's a dish called General Zhou's chicken. It's quite a sweet chicken. It's quite nice. A little bit of crispiness in there. Similar to, in Australia, we'd have a sweet and sour chicken. That would be the equivalent of it. Now, the interesting thing, and if you haven't seen it, you should go and have a look at it because it's a really good example of menu engineering. So Chinese immigrants to the United States would cook. Now, they didn't speak English. So how are they going to make a living? And there was a couple of ways that they could do it. They could run a laundry, which is where you get the phrase, a Chinese laundry, or they could set up a restaurant. And so they set up restaurants and they were cooking all of the amazing cuisines that come out of China, but not too popular. So what they needed to do was they needed to adapt the recipes of their homeland for the tastes of their new homeland. And that is how we get General Zhou's chicken. So quite sweet. And it's quite interesting because they go back to China and they're looking for this dish and they can't find it anywhere. No one's ever heard of it. The other thing is they take fortune cookies and they give them to Chinese people and they're eating it and they're like, wow, what idiot put paper in this cookie? That's just madness. That story, though, there's one line that I remember from it, and it is that the restaurant industry is the path for new immigrants to the United States who don't speak English. It is their path to the middle class. So you can come, you can set up a restaurant, you don't need to talk to the customers too much, and you can work really hard and you can achieve that middle class dream. That hope, that dream, that underpins so much of what is meant to be great about living in a Western democracy. A fair day's wage for a fair day's work, a fair go for people. The restaurant industry gives that opportunity to a lot of people who wouldn't be available for until they learn to speak English, and that can take quite a while. If they don't set up a restaurant, if they don't become an employer for new immigrants from their old country, then what are those people going to do? What kind of work are they going to get? If they don't have work, what unemployment benefits can they get? Are they going to have to turn to a life of crime? How does that sort of pan out? What is the actual effect on society? Then you've got the flip side of that. You've got the ordinary punter who's out on a Saturday night, and then they get to experience a little bit of Chinese culture, a little bit of Indian culture as they go out to get their really hot chicken vindaloo, a little bit of Italian culture, a little bit of Greek culture. In Australia, we have a huge number of Vietnamese restaurants, which is super cool because if you've never been to a Vietnamese restaurant, you should try it. Amazing flavours, amazing cuisine. Why is it that in Melbourne, my hometown, we have so many Vietnamese restaurants? Well, it's quite simple. After the Vietnam War, a lot of people became refugees and came escaping the tyranny of the new Vietnamese communist government, and they wanted to live in a land that was free, so they came to Australia. They also went to the United States. So they came here, they came to Australia, they came to Melbourne, and they set up their restaurants. And the thing that I find really exciting about this story is that you can find second and third generation Vietnamese now who are really successful. They are doctors, they are lawyers, or they're running, really, really, really successful Vietnamese restaurants. Where would they be today if their parents and grandparents weren't able to set up Vietnamese restaurants? Where would they have been? As we unpack this little story, as we unpack this saga, I want you to think back to that question. Where would they have been? And this is why I think it's such a really, really, really important question. And it's why I think that Deliveroo is probably one of the most unethical companies in the world. I'm probably not going to go that far, but they're incredibly unethical because what they're doing is they're tearing apart the fabric of society as they deny people the ability to have a job where they can get paid fairly for the work that they're doing. So let's go back to the start of it. This article was published in The Guardian by Jack Schenker. So I'm going to use a little bit out of this, and obviously we're going to be using our experiences because we're talking to restaurants who are using Deliveroo all the time, whether it's, particularly UK customers and definitely in Australia as well. We see it as Deliveroo tries to grow throughout the world. The article starts out, Shukran Best Kebab, the finest Turkish restaurant in the Seven Sisters area of North London, according to some people, although it is surrounded by fierce rivals to the throne, joined Deliveroo 2 years ago, and back then it seemed like a no-brainer. Life as a small, independent restaurant is hard and the profit margins are slim, says Hussein Kurt, Shukran's owner. We wanted more customers and money coming in, and Deliveroo seemed to offer that. We didn't think there was a downside. Within a few days of signing the contract with the company, a shiny new tablet computer arrived and orders placed via Deliveroo appeared out of the ether with a satisfying ping. The sense that something was wrong dawned gradually. Kurt, a gregarious bearded man in his early 40s who left his central Anatolian hometown in 1995 and used his love of food to build a new life in the UK, ran the numbers. With Deliveroo's commission amounting to 35% plus VAT on every order, he was forced to increase his prices to avoid losing money on each sale. It meant anyone buying his huge Adana kofti or his mixed shish kebabs through the Deliveroo app was in effect paying 3 surcharges for the convenience, as Deliveroo was also charging them a delivery and service fee. That went down badly with previously loyal customers who were presented with a vast number of often heavily discounted competitors when using the app. Okay, let's stop there and just have a look at that. One thing that we say at Marketing for Restaurants all the time is it's all about the data. Now, in God we trust, everyone else bring data because data is really, really powerful. And this is the first thing that's happening is that every time a restaurant signs up with Deliveroo, they are now giving Deliveroo access to their customers because Deliveroo gets the email addresses. Any new customers, you don't get those email addresses either. So this makes it difficult. You're putting someone in between you and your customer, and you'd never want to do that. You never want to do that. Not only that, there's a huge commission, that 35%. Now, Deliveroo has never turned a profit, okay? Deliveroo has never turned a profit. It gets worse though. So whenever there's an issue with the delivery rider, that can be a financial impact for the restaurant because Deliveroo can charge it back. Deliveroo will often blame the restaurant for what's gone wrong. Then Deliveroo started delivering on part of their brand promise, part of the promise that they talked about in their financial statements. And this was their dark kitchens. And this is the huge issue that we're seeing now. I've come across this, probably 3 years ago, just talking about restaurant owners in Australia. And they would say to me, the weird thing about the Deliveroo rep is they're asking all sorts of questions about how to run a restaurant, not about delivery, not about takeout, not about getting delivery riders or anything like that. It was, how do you run a restaurant? And this is because of Deliveroo's desire to vertically integrate. So a dark kitchen, if you're not aware of it, it's generally made out of a shipping container and it's going to be put somewhere like in a car park. So very low rent, very low investment. So literally just the kitchen fit out. So at the moment, Deliveroo has got all of this information about the individual items that people are ordering. So you might have, in your restaurant, you might have 30 items that you think are necessary to have. Let's go back to that menu engineering matrix. You'll have your dogs, your stars, your plough horses, and your puzzles. What they can do is they can identify the high volume ones, so your plough horses, that you don't make a lot of money out of, and your stars, the high volume, high margin items. They'll know that because they can see what people are ordering. They can then work out, and let's just say that you've got one shish kebab shop in one suburb and then one shish kebab shop in another suburb. Deliveroo can actually put a dark kitchen in the middle of those two areas and then gain potentially 75% of the custom in that area because they know where each of those individual customers live. This is super scary, people. You are giving away your customer database to a company that probably doesn't have your hopes and aspirations at the top of their mind. Now, the next thing that's really scary about this is that particularly when COVID came, and so fun fact, Deliveroo didn't make any money with COVID, even though a massive increase in demand for orders, absolutely massive, as people were stuck at home and literally the highlight of their day was getting some food delivered. This is another important little part of the story. So Deliveroo pushed this dominant narrative that everyone wants convenience, everyone wants to order from home. There's no need to go out to a restaurant because you can just have it ordered at home. And I agree up to a point. And it really depends on the product. And, we've talked about this on multiple occasions. What is the product that you're delivering? On a Friday night, I am tired. I've worked all week and I am looking forward to sitting down and having a really hot chicken vindaloo with a glass of wine while the family sits and watches some TV. That is nice and relaxing. I would never do that on a Saturday night because Saturday night's for going out. What is the meaning of the word restaurant? It's from the French, to restore the soul. That is the time when you get together with family, you get together with friends, and that's when great experiences are had, partially around the food. And food is such a huge psychological driver. Our brain is so heavily wired around food. Why is that? Because if we forget to eat, if we just, it's not important to me, it's not important to me, I don't think I'll bother eating, then we'll die. So the brain, as a safeguard, it's pretty fixated on food. It's really fixated on food. And so you've got all of these psychological things at the heart of it. And that's why bringing together family, bringing together friends, bringing together some amazing food, and and maybe a bit of alcohol, you bring all of that together and you've got an amazing event, an amazing experience. Many of the people who work in these delivery companies, I wonder if they've ever been to a decent restaurant, if they've ever really had that experience. Next fun fact, they talk about how they're really innovating as far as delivery goes. Well, okay, that's nice, but pizza shops have been delivering for over 60 years. I would love to find out what was the first pizza shop that ever started doing delivery. And I think I've mentioned it somewhere, I just can't find it at the moment. But it's been done for a very long time. The real innovation that Deliveroo and their ilk have come up with is the ability to pay below the award wage. So a Bureau of Investigative Journalism recently claimed that a large percentage of the Deliveroo riders sampled earned below the minimum wage, and some were being paid as little as £2 an hour. Now, Deliveroo claims that their riders are earning, on average, £13 an hour at the busiest times. Okay, that's fantastic, at the busiest times. But we all know that those busiest times are only 8 hours of the week. There is a lot of hours in a week, and those 8 hours, so their riders are earning £13 on average at the busiest times. Outside of that, who knows what they're earning? This then has created a significant imbalance, a very unlevel, unfair playing field, because on a Wednesday night, when it's not busy, you are paying full wages. Well, hopefully you're paying full wages. Hopefully you run a successful restaurant and you're able to pay full wages. You're paying full wages and you're competing against the Deliveroo rider who's getting paid £2 an hour. So it's very, very hard to compete against that. Flip side of that, though, is that even with the 35% commission that they're charging, even with the service fee, even with the delivery fee, even with all of that, they're still not profitable. And that's because there's a huge amount of effort in trying to manage these contract riders. And you've got to remember, so who is a Deliveroo rider? Interesting question. If you believe their press releases, then the Deliveroo riders are people who really, really, really appreciate the flexibility that they get when they're a Deliveroo rider. Well, in reality, a lot of them are new immigrants to a country. A lot of them struggle to get a job. And what they actually appreciate is money, some money, any money, to try and keep afloat. How far from modern slavery is a Deliveroo rider who is forced to work for £2 an hour? Now, you may be the kind of person who likes just hanging out with other bike riders and chit-chatting for them, and then every now and then going off for a bit of a ride and collecting £2. You might be that guy who likes that. And that's okay. But apart from the fact that you're displacing a fully paid job in a restaurant as a delivery person, but also you might be that person who is desperately trying to put food in the mouths of his children, and £2 for an hour's worth of work is better than no pounds for not working. So is it the flexibility of the hours that they get? Because who would work for £2 an hour? Who would work below the minimum wage? Only people who can't get a job anywhere else. Not only are they creating these jobs that are paying below the minimum wage, but they're also destroying full fee paying wages in the restaurants. Untidy, messy. Deliveroo, still hugely unprofitable. They are on track to lose £300 million. And yet, interestingly enough, after their IPO, after they listed on the stock market, their value is nearly £5 billion. Now, this is because investors think that they're going to fundamentally change the way that we eat. So, we'll look at that in a little bit, but because there's a huge difference there. Like, they're not making any money at all. They needed a massive cash injection from Amazon to be able to stay afloat. What is it that investors think that they're seeing as opposed to what's actually happening on the street? I just want to quote from the article because it really does a good job of highlighting the little ecosystem that's grown up in that area. So West Green Road, home of Shukran Best Kebabs, runs for more than a mile through northeast London, from Duckett's Common in the west to Tottenham's Latin Village Market in the east. Step left or right out of Kurt's doorway and you'll find yourself immersed in one of the most dense and diverse independent restaurant scenes in the capital. Nigerian diners rub up against Korean fast food joints, Polish cafes dovetail with Ghanaian bakeries, Caribbean takeaways and Ugandan charity kitchens. Nearly all of them are family run or owned by just one or two individuals living locally. The whole planet is here, says Iaio Castro, owner of Bom Picado, a Portuguese restaurant whose name means good sin, which is famed for its hearty stews and pastel de nata pastries. Castro said of the road's fusion of culinary cultures lends itself to serendipitous interactions. It's a special social place, he says. People end up sitting down next to strangers and discovering who they are. What a beautiful story of the ecosystem, the social ecosystem. So the social opportunity, the economic opportunity, the experiences that are created in that little area. Now, I wish that I could go to West Green Road because I think it would be amazing and I could eat out every night, and it sounds like I could eat out every night for 2 or 3 months, go somewhere completely different and do that little culinary tourism thing where you can go to and get a different slice of the world every night to try. And with that, food is baked into the culture of those people. So your experience, it's a really multicultural experience that you're getting. Very, very different to what it is that, the dystopian future of food, I think, that is potentially going to happen. So in the old days, you'd print your menu and then it would be delivered. During the day, you might walk it around and you might deliver it to the area where you would deliver to. That's right. Restaurants would deliver their own food. Or if you didn't want to deliver, and let's face it, we all know it, delivery is a horrible game. It really is horrible. People ring up, they might say it's going to be cash, then it's a fake order, or the order might be taken down wrong, or your delivery guy might get lost. We had Just Eat who came to the scene, and all they were doing was allowing people to put their menu online and order from it, clipping the ticket for 13%. Now, very interesting, a brilliant business model, because you get the capital together to open your restaurant, you hire the team, you train the team, you find the customers, you prepare the food, you buy the ingredients, you prepare the food, you package it up, you deliver it, you do all of that. All Just Eat ever did was take an order and they thought it was appropriate to charge 13%. Absolute madness. Absolute madness. But anyway, and that's why we introduced Frilo, the free restaurant online ordering system, because it's not really that hard to do. Now, I asked that question before. I didn't ever got to it. Who are our delivery? Oh, I think I did. But one of the issues that you've got is you've got people who are earning minimum wage, and every cent potentially is going to feed their family, which is why so many of them are hungry, and which is why before Deliveroo, it was never really a thing that your delivery rider might be eating your food. And fun fact, when did they last wash their hands? Because they don't actually have access to toilets or washrooms. Okay, so this is all really quite messy, and there's a huge food safety issue with this as well. But they are often earning so little that they can't afford the food. So a couple of chips here, a couple of chips there, maybe you can justify that when they're being paid so poorly. Just Eat was actually really slow to see the transition to providing the delivery. Deliveroo was as the name suggests, they were a delivery first company, and their ability to pay below the award wage meant that it was difficult for restaurants to compete. Now what they've done is they've created this marketplace, and this marketplace is incredibly nefarious. I'll tell you a story. A few years ago now, I had a restaurant owner and he was in tears, and he said, I don't know what to do. I signed up. I can't remember which one it was. It may have been Deliveroo, although it might not have been. It may have been Menulog. We've got Menulog here, which is the Just Eat subsidiary in Australia. Anyway, he signed up and he got lots of orders, lots and lots of orders. So thousands of dollars worth of orders every week. And we're talking, around the $10,000 mark. So a huge amount of orders. He was very successful, but realized he wasn't making a lot of money. But this wasn't what the huge issue was. The rep came out and said, right, we're going to run a special deal. We want you to be a part of it. And he had to offer something like a 25% off discount for people. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. And they said, well, okay. Then what happened was his listing went all the way down to the bottom and his orders collapsed by 90%. His orders collapsed by 90%. He doesn't own the marketplace, Deliveroo, or, whoever the delivery aggregator is. They own the marketplace. Now, he can't go out to his customers and say, hey, don't forget about me. We're still here. He doesn't know who his customers are. So they have a literal gun to this guy's head. This is part of the power. This is where that valuation comes from. One of the restaurant owners says, they woo you with honeyed words and push users towards you at the beginning, so it seems like it's working out. Then they drop you like a stone. They're stealing our customers and we've had enough. We've told them to come and remove their machines. It's robbery, pure and simple. From the article, none of the interviewees begrudge Deliveroo the right to charge restaurants for the service it is providing. Their grievance revolves around the fact that by assuming the role of market gatekeeper, the company has a responsibility to play fairly. In this regard, it is falling short. Speculation abounds that favoured restaurant names, of the type rarely to be found in the parts of the city, are able to cut better deals than smaller outlets that are rooted in their communities but have no economic clout when it comes to negotiating fees. Many refer to the fact that, unlike their own firms, Deliveroo pays no UK corporation tax, and the restaurant's owners suspect that the net effect of the company's operation is that money flows out of the poor neighbourhood. Tottenham's unemployment rate is currently the fastest growing in the country, and its level of child poverty is almost double the national average, and into the pockets of far-flung global investors. But despite these complaints, almost every restaurant owner says that they have no choice but to remain on the platform because that is where the customers are now. Nearly all requested anonymity in this article for fear of speaking out against Deliveroo could see them relegated to the app search rankings. The Observer requested an interview with the representative Deliveroo to discuss criticisms made by its restaurant partners, but was told no one was available. When a restaurant closes, then it's really quite a sombre occasion. It means the end of someone's dream. It probably means the end of a family's dream. It means unemployment, possibly for the family, possibly for those. How many people were they employing? 5, 6 people? Those people are all now out of a job. When it occurs in an area of low socioeconomic means, that impact can be quite crippling because there may not be a lot of other opportunities out there. And what we're doing is we are converting jobs with hope, jobs that pay fairly, into this modern slavery construct where riders are paid per delivery made for a variable price, which we don't really understand because there's not a lot of transparency about. And restaurants are being charged variable commissions depending on how much economic clout they have and their ability to negotiate. A fun fact, how would you go negotiating a commission rate like that against a slick salesperson if you didn't speak the language of the country that you were negotiating in? I don't think I would go very well if I was trying to negotiate in Thailand or in France or in China. I think I'd really struggle with that. I think I'd have to take what was given. Is that fair? What we'll do is we'll end it here and we'll come back with part 2. I didn't plan on this being a 2-parter, but it's going to be a 2-parter. Next week's going to be really important because I'm going to talk about what I think the way forward is. And to be perfectly honest, I don't know if it's possible, but I think it's something that we all need to fight for because one way or another, you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your restaurant. You're going to lose your customers. And I don't think we're talking about individual restaurants now. I think we're talking about the restaurant industry, which is really important. So stay tuned for the next episode of The Death of the Restaurant Industry and Deliveroo, the company that wants to kill it. Hopefully I'll try and do something a little bit more cheery after that.
Want more customers for your restaurant, cafe or takeout? Every month, our marketing tools and information are used by thousands of restaurant owners just like you to help them find more customers and turn them into repeat customers. All of our tools and information is designed specifically for restaurant owners. We know you don't have a lot of time to spend marketing or learning complicated procedures, so our tools are quick and easy to use. If you're looking to increase your revenue and profits or want to work less hours, check out marketingforrestaurants.com.